wildlife monitoring, such as snakes, turtles, fish, and so much more. That monitoring includes grassland birds, which are unique in their own way and are facing their own set of challenges.
Of all of the groups of birds in North America, they've been on the steepest decline for the last 5-6 decades. They've been tanking really bad on a continental level, and on a regional level and on a state level, they're just in decline. They're basically just habitat loss is why they're going down, I would say. So that's why they're important to maintain what we have of them left and try to, if we can, expand their habitat and increase their numbers. But part of that is to figure out what we have currently. They're pretty easy as far as wildlife goes. Like, you don't have to set up traps. You pick a point in ideal habitat, you wake up early, you drink a bunch of coffee, you go out and you listen for birds. And birds, they call, they want to be heard, so they're very identifiable, they're easy to detect. So when I do the monitoring for the grassland bird program, I'll usually just stand on a point. I do have binoculars, but I would say like 90% of the ID is by sound. And you just kind of wait, and I wait for 5 minutes and really just kind of listen in different directions, and you'll hear, hopefully what you're looking for, which are, grasshopper sparrows, savanna sparrows, Henslow sparrows, bobolinks, eastern meadowlarks, and a handful of other species, but those are probably the main obligate grasslands that I'm listening for. For like the grassland bird monitoring program, I'm just really seeing what species are where and in what amounts. So I'm basically counting individual birds and then also documenting the species. And that's the hard skill for when we try to bring in volunteers. Like, they're very good at the ID they can identify, but to count in 5 minutes, like, is it 5 red-winged blackbirds or is it 10? I mean, that's the trick. But over time, that's what we try to get actual numbers of birds too. So then over time, I can kind of see what the trends are. It's a one-time thing isn't going to tell us anything, but if I can actually map the trends over time. Now I've been doing it for 8 years at this site. That data is actually going to show us they're going up, they're going down, they're maintaining. Grassland birds are species that are, first off, almost all of them nest on the ground. They don't nest in trees, they're not perched up, they nest on the ground. And they adapted to systems that are large and open, so they don't really like woody vegetation. They're not really, if there's a lot of trees, if there's a lot of shrubs, they're out of there. They're not going to use that habitat. So they adapted with large open areas like this, and the more open, the better. So basically, the less fragmented, the better, by trees or by like shrub screens. And you could see, if you took out every tree line here, all of a sudden it just opens up, and that just exponentially grows the potential grassland bird habitat. This is one of the strongholds in the state and even the region for Henslow sparrows. I think a big part of that is Medawan, but also the surrounding areas where definitely, if they're spilling out of Medawan, and we're able to kind of pick up the slack and on the rest of the landscape and give them good habitat. But they were delisted. They were on the state list for endangered or listed species, and now they've been delisted because of the rebound. So that's one that I would say, if it was 20 years ago, that would have been the worst case scenario. But now we've actually locally, I think, because of the efforts that us and, like I said, Medawan and other places around here have been able to really bolster their numbers and get them delisted. These types of areas, these open areas, I would say that's one of the top priorities, is to connect these open areas and then therefore allow for this, expanding from one area into another, or, these things that look not great now, all of a sudden will look much better if you remove these fragmenting lines on the landscape.